Alright guys, we're in the shop today, and what you see behind me here is that tri-moto 175 that I talked about in my last video. And the reason I buy this kind of stuff is because it's a good way to make some extra money. So I bought this thing on Craigslist for 120 bucks or $125, and you know, it turns over. um, it's pretty complete. It's not really missing a whole lot, but this is fun for me to buy something like this and clean it up, you know, put new brakes on it, get it running good, and then I'll turn around and I'll put it back on Craigslist and I'll sell it. And if you do it right, you can make a profit doing this. Like I said, one of the reasons I do it is because I really enjoy it. But this is something that would be fun to ride around. But I've got enough stuff, and I don't need it. But you know, it's cool because I'll sell this for, you know, a real reasonable price, but it'll get somebody else into it. You know, it might get a 10-year-old kid, or you know, maybe a teenager. It'll get him into the hobby, and I think that getting kids and young adults into this sport of ATVs is a good thing. You know, my kids both have their own quads, and you know, it is expensive to buy them their own quads, but I would rather them be on these four-wheelers and going places and exploring and, you know, playing with these than I would them playing video games. I'm not a huge fan of video games. I'm not a huge fan of the kids sitting inside all summer playing video games. So these ATVs are a really good way to get the whole family out, you know, and spend time with each other. You know, my wife's got one, and my two kids and myself, we all go together. We all have our own machines, and it's a really good time. So, you know, this machine here, this might be purchased by you know, father wanting to get into the hobby with his son. So I think getting these old machines back running again and getting them back out there is a good thing to do. So basically where this thing is at is it needed tires. I have the rear tires done, and they're mounted on those wheels that I had powder coated. So what I'm going to do is pull the engine out first, because the threads in the cylinder head, where the exhaust bolts to, the exhaust flange, those threads are stripped. So I'm going to do a video on how to put a helicoil in and fix those threads. And to do that, I got to pull the engine out because I can't get to the threads with it in the frame here. So we're going to pull the motor out. We're going to go through the front and rear brakes. I've already bought new ones. We're going to check the bearings and everything. I'm not going to replace, you know, every little thing I take apart on this. I'll replace what needs to be replaced. But like I said, if you're going to try to flip a machine like this and make any sort of a profit, you need to really pick and choose what you're spending your money on, and your budget needs to be, you know, somewhat tight. You know, all the cables, I'll lubricate them, I'll clean them and lubricate them, and they'll probably, after that process is done, they'll probably work just as well as they did when they were new. But the motor will come out, we'll fix that, and we'll clean the carburetor up, and we'll try to get this thing to start. Put the exhaust on, that needs to be cleaned up and painted. Once the brakes are on, we'll put all the wheels and tires back on, clean it up, and go take it for a test ride. So the first thing I'm going to get started on this bike here is getting everything unbolted here to get the engine out. Alright, so to get this engine out of here, I'm going to start over here on, I guess you'd call it the driver's side, the left side of the machine, looking forward. The first thing I'll do is get this carburetor pulled off of here, off of the intake manifold, and I've already went ahead and I've unplugged the wire harness here off of the stator. So that'll be, you know, coming out with the engine. This line here, this is coming off the intake manifold, And this is actually going to put crankcase pressure to the fuel pump. So that's a pressure line, and that's been disconnected already by myself. So once this clamp is loose here on the carburetor, you should just be able to wiggle this thing out of here, just like that. Sometimes it can be real stiff and hard to do, especially with that intake boot, but they wiggle out of there, and I'm looking down the inside of this right now, and it's nasty. There's a bunch of lacquered gas. The slide is stuck all the way up in the wide open position, so we're definitely going to be taking, actually I'm just going to take it off right now. Take the carburetor cap off, and we'll set this carburetor on the workbench, and we'll go through this thing. So once you've got that out of the way, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to unhook the master link here off of the chain and pull the chain off to take apart. Alright, so the chain's off. The next thing we're going to take off is going to be right down here, and there's an arm here for the shifter. That's a 10mm bolt, and we'll take that off next. Alright, so one more motor mount bolt or nut to take off, and we're in the clear. Alright, we got it all unbolted. I think I have all of the cables, hoses, all that kind of crap disconnected. I'll try to wrestle this thing out of here. You can tell already we're going to have to pull this bolt here. For those of you guys that don't have one of these impacts, you should get one, because they're one of the coolest things ever made. I use it a lot in the shop here. It saves a lot of time. But let's see if we can get this out of here. These things are never easy. It's like they're always a fight. Alright, not too bad. Alright, there it is. Pull it out. So I'll take the camera off the tripod here, and I'll show you why I want to pull this thing out of here. I was talking about those threads. So it may be hard to see with this glare here, but anyway, threads are gone. So I'm going to put this up on the workbench. I'm going to call it a night, but I'm going to get this up on the workbench tomorrow, and we'll clean this engine up a little bit, and we'll fix those threads.